sorry it's been forever since my last video, but I figured I would start after the holidays and when, you know, I got my chemo schedule back on schedule. This is my mom and this is my sister Corey. So this video has been, you guys have asked me to do this video for a while. I have questions of what you guys have asked, what you would like to know from my family. And instead of it just being my mom, I wanted it my sister too, because it's also, my sister and her family are very close to me. So it's not only just my immediate family with like my mom and my dad and my brother, it's also my sister and her family. So my brother-in-law and my niece is going through everything as well. So I thought it was really important to have both of their answers to these questions. So let's get started.
Okay.
Okay. Number one, how is everyone dealing with everything you are going through? Mom, you can go first.
In what way? What do you mean? Like, I don't understand the question.
Okay. How is everyone dealing in the, in the family? How's everyone dealing with everything that we've been going through? How would you say everyone's been dealing with it? So you could answer it personally. How have you been dealing with everything, or with our whole family?
I mean, I think after the initial shock of it wore off, I think we're handling it pretty well. I wish maybe at home, maybe the boys would be a little bit better. Because I kind of feel like basically it's just me and Corey. That's kind of how I feel.
Boys meaning my dad and my brother.
Yes. So basically I just feel like it's, you know, it's like me and Corey. Of course, Daniel is very supportive with her. But in terms like of home life, I feel like, you know, I feel like a lot falls on my shoulders at home. You know, just making sure everything is, you know, taken care of. I'm naturally a warrior, so, you know, this has just amplified it even more.
And Corey, how do you feel everything is going with you and your family?
I mean, again, like my mom mentioned, you know, the initial shock is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, number one, this is happening to somebody that I love. And number two, it's like, holy mackerel, how are we gonna band together and get through this while at the same time, you know, being, you know, emotionally, you're a little crushed. And you want to be there for, obviously, the person going through it, but at the same time, you know, it is hard to separate your feelings as wanting to be there for them and wanting to deal with it yourself, you know, and am I dealing with it the right way? Am I dealing with it like the way a perfect person should, or am I dealing with it, you know, the way that they want me to deal with it? You know, there's a lot of questions that go on in your mind with that, but I think overall, you know, I personally have just been trying to deal with it with a level head, because I would say that in most instances I am level-headed, except when it comes to medical things of myself. Then I'm like, I'm dying. But in this case, it's like,
We could thank our mother for that.
yeah, right. But in this case, it's like, okay, you can't think like that, because obviously the first thing that comes to your head when you hear this diagnosis is that death is a possibility, and you have to immediately be like, okay, no, I can't have that mindset. I can't have that even in my mind, because then you're not going to deal with every single hiccup that will come up, because there will be some. You can't deal with that with level head. So that's just been my main focus and my main way of dealing with it. You know, yes, you want to cry and you want to, you know, think all of the horrible things that could happen, but I've just been really trying to push that in the back. And like, I've told my sister, you know, I'm just trying to deal with it day by day. I'll cry about it later. You know, I'll revisit these vulnerable feelings later. And again, I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but for me, you know, being a sister, a daughter, you know, a wife and a mother, like you still have to go on, and you still have to do the day-to-day stuff. You know, you still have to care about, you know, the kids' homework and, you know, them, you know, getting a meal on the table, you know, at the same time, you know, worrying about, you know, how is my sister feeling today? Like, does she need me? Does she need me emotionally? Does she need me, like, you know, to help with her son? Like, you know, these are all things that you just have to deal with day in, day out. So that's pretty much where I'm coming from, is just trying to deal with it level-headedly.
Trying to stay positive.
Yeah.
Number 2, how has this diagnosis changed your outlook on life?
To me, it's like, wow, things can really change in just a moment. Just like in a moment, things can go, you know, we're just chugging along, and we're going along and thinking life is, you know, is great. And then all of a sudden it's like, bam, like in a second, how things can change. And I think that's what's the scary part. In terms of, wait, what was more of the question?
That's
Change
just
your
how
outlook on life.
how
Okay.
does it change your outlook?
It's kind of like that. I want to do things. Like I don't want to, you know, like I have a husband that's a couch potato, and I just can't imagine doing that for the rest of your life, being a couch potato. Like I'm figuring it. To me now, it's like TikTok. You never know how much time you have, and I just want to do things. And that's so now I have to keep. I think about, okay, when she's better, we're gonna do things. You know, when she's better, we're gonna do things. I have to think like that. So I think of next Christmas, you know, things will be better, and, you know, hopefully we've gone on a trip by then, or, you know, done things like that. In terms of other outlook, I find when people complain about trivial things, and I am a complainer normally, so I understand this, but now it's like when I hear it from like strangers, kind of like now it's just like, I can't believe how petty, you know, like people worry about things, you know. So I think that has changed. And that's when I learned about this job change that I'm having at work. That's why it affected me so much, because I know now all I'm going to hear about is minor complaints. How people think this is the greatest tragedy in their life, something so stupid. And now I have to go back and listen to that during a time when I really don't want to hear that. So I'm kind of worried how I'm going to handle that, because I feel like I'm just going to go off and just
She's
say,
in customer service. by the
I'm
way.
just going to say fuck it all to them, and I don't really care, and I'm just going to walk out the door. So I'm kind of a little worried about that, but, you know.
So think twice, people, before you call him bitch. Okay?
Right.
That this is not the end of the world.
Yes,
That's what she's saying. in
that is
perspective.
what I'm saying, yes. So,
Sister.
I think that, I mean, I can agree that the overall outlook has definitely changed as far as, you know, crying over spilt milk. And I've really been trying to project that even to my kids more so than normal, because not only am I reminding them, but I'm reminding myself every time that I say it to them. So that's a big thing. Obviously, yes, you know, life changes at a moment, and, you know, I think especially for all of us who are younger, that, you know, you're like, hey, I'm, you know, my 20s, I'm, you know, it's supposed to be fun, and my 30s, right, is supposed to be just as fun, only idealistically, you know, you should have a family and whatnot, right? But you don't think of these things happening to you in your 30s, you know? You don't think of these things happening to you in your 20s. You think, okay, well, the possibility of cancer is there, or even, you know, obviously even worse than that, is there, you know, you're hoping, like, well, even past your 50s, because let me tell you, once you get in your 30s, your 50s don't seem far away.
Everything's
And it
downhill.
feels like it should be, you know, okay, well, now I'm thinking 60. No, now I'm thinking 70, right? Like, that's when that stuff should happen. So I get that. So that's really been an eye changer, is that, oh crap, you know, I'm getting old. So, no, but not even that. It's just a matter of, it can happen. And again, it just is reiterated to me and even to my husband, because we're both very positive people, at least we try to be, is that we just need to be even more positive. You know, we need to be even more, the grass isn't always green on the other side. You know, look at your glass half full instead of half empty. I mean, those are kind of things that we've always tried to be, but even more so now. So.
Number 3, what are some significant changes that you have made because of this? Rather in your life, rather personally, or maybe some changes you've put like a goal like you're going to do later.
I think, you know, like when, like with the holidays, really overate, tremendously amount. I don't know, I just kind of let it like take over. Don't know why. It just does that. I am an addict on that food thing. So now I realize too, I'm like, God, Samantha can go through keto. Samantha can go through chemo.
I can't go through keto.
I don't understand, like, how hard would it be for me to cut back on my food? How stupid, how insignificant. So, you know, to kind of give up certain things to stay healthy, to be around for her. How can I ask her to take care of herself if I'm not doing it? You know, so that is like a, you know, to me like a big change. And for me, I'm always constantly, I think, changing on things like that. I don't think I should always, you know, like stay the same. So now it's like, and if I go after things, like Laura always says, you know, Karen doesn't go at it, you know, just, I have to go at it full force or not at all.
Yeah.
So, and I think, you know, going back on the diet full force again, and it's kind of like you too, kind of like, I don't know if that's really, maybe I'm thinking ahead maybe of other questions, but just that's it. Just kind of like, you know.
Be more healthy.
Yeah, be more healthy, mindful, you know, appreciate your health.
Small disclaimer, okay, because they'll never say anything. My mom has lost like, you know, 80 pounds. My sister has lost like, what, 130?
120.
120, and my brother has lost like at least 150 pounds. So, she's, you know, she doesn't give herself enough credit, but they actually have worked their ass off to lose a lot of weight. So I just want to put that out
there. But the
there.
past kind of doesn't mean anything if you're like, you know, I'm up 20 pounds. So that's all I can focus on.
You see what I mean?
I can't focus on that because that means nothing.
She discredits everything.
It does.
You know, fuck the 100 pounds I just
It
lost.
does.
It's all about the 20 pounds I
That's
just
in the
gained.
past.
So
all I can focus on now is just like 20 pounds.
Move on to sister now. Okay.
Well, obviously, I think significant changes, kind of going with the other question, the previous question, is more mentally being in a state of positivity, because I am, especially at home, I'm quick to get upset, especially like there's stuff on the floor and the kids left their toys out, and the cats got into the yarn, whatever. Those things were really quick to make me get irate for like a few seconds, and then just because that's the kind of person I am, I eventually calm down pretty quick. But I've really been trying not to be that person. Again, it goes along with, because life's too short, like, is this really something worth getting upset about? So on a mental level, that's where I really tried to be more positive, because I feel like in the everyday to day, it's making things like, hey, your sister didn't have a good night last night. It makes those moments, it makes them, basically lets me feel a little bit more, I guess is the best way to describe it, than, oh wow, my poor sis, okay, well, I gotta get back onto that. It gives me more of an ability to be there emotionally, if that makes sense. And where I'm not normally a very emotional person, I do keep a lot of my emotions inside internally. And so I feel that too has been a big significant change, is I've been more emotional. I've let myself cry over things that normally I would feel weak about crying about, but I've let that emotion come out, and that's big for me. So that's a big change. But also, obviously, health, right? Just keeping on tracking and knowing that, this plays a big part, our diet and our activity and whatnot on if we're, more susceptible to certain diseases or even cancers and whatnot. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, but, again, I'm just even that much more conscious of that.
Question number 4 is for me, and that's how did I tell my family? I've already said this in a previous video, but I'll break it down because it's literally the only question for me. I had already had an appointment. I made an appointment on a Thursday, and I just happened to get in that next day on a Friday. I had already previously felt a lump, and it was a pretty big bitch, so I was like, I need to go get this checked. I went to go get it checked, and basically they told me right there in the office, he said, like, I'm willing to put my job on the line, that it's a form of breast cancer. So, that my biopsy was going to be next week. So, I mean, a doctor tells you that, you pretty much can expect that it's the worst, right? It's breast cancer. But, so the first person, obviously, I called was my mom. I was by myself because I went on lunch while I was at work. And then, of course, I didn't go back to work. So I called my mom, and then I called my boyfriend. I called my sister, my brother, then my dad, and then my best friend. All on the way driving home. Because I just felt like, I don't know why I felt like that, but I just felt like I needed to tell them as soon as possible. And then I just wanted to, like, decompress the rest of the way home. As I said also in a previous video, I know, like, my best friend felt really guilty for that, that I went by myself. I know my mom kind of felt that way too for a little bit, but honestly, I wouldn't have changed it. Like, I'm really glad that actually I was by myself, because I got time to freak out for a little bit, like, without anybody staring at me, and then I got to calm myself down and really, like, talk myself into what was next. So I'm really like my sister that way, like, just kind of, like, talk myself down, and then I'm like my mom where I have the freak out moment.
The vomit. Yeah.
Yes. But that's how it happened. Number 5, do you look at her differently? And if yes, how so and why?
I do, of course. I always knew she was, a very strong personality. She was always that way. And then I think we used to butt heads until she got diabetes when she was, 12? Mm-hmm. And then it's like our relationship totally changed. I felt like it was her and I against the world, because I felt like nobody else got it. Nobody else was there for all of her appointments, and basically there were many times I saved her life in the middle of the night. And I knew she knew. All she had to do was just say my name, and I knew, like, okay, I know what to do, right? And then I don't know, sometimes I lose train of thought because I start my mindset's going to the spot.
Do you look at her differently, and if yes, why?
And I think when I first heard it, my first thought was, why her? And I knew I remember once hearing this one woman talk about when she had cancer, she's like, well, why not me? But then I thought, my God, she already has this. How many kids commit suicide with type 1 diabetes? And then now you have cancer too? I mean, shit, how much more, can one young person have? And I kept thinking, you always used to tell me, Mom, I don't expect to live a long life. And I'm like, no, I just, like, refuse. I just refused. I'm like, no. So after I got over my moment of basically wanting to vomit and scream and, all of that, that took a few weeks, I'm just going to say. Okay. Now it's like, it's amazing when I see other people, and I guess I just kind of take it for granted that she's like this really, really strong person. And when you go to the doctors and you go to the appointments, and then you realize like they're always amazed. You know, it's like, wow, I can't believe, you know, this is, you know, you're going through cancer right now, you know. And the doctor always like, I feel guilty. I'm not doing more for, like, do you need anything from me, you know? So, like this last time when your numbers were low, that kind of gave me a little hiccup. Like Corey says, I just like to, we were going along so smoothly. It's kind of put a little hiccup in my little psyche, you know, trying to get back there. I'm like, yes, you've had how many rounds and you never once had your numbers low. So that kind of gave me a little, you know. I ain't gonna lie.
My blood plates were too low to do chemo this time.
So got a little panic moment. I was trying not to panic.
So they sent me home, and I have to do it again. It'll be 2 weeks. So.
And so that to me is amazing. Of course, she's always like now like the calm one, you know. And I'm just like in my head, you know, it's like buzzing in my head, like going, okay. She can be fine. She can be fine. She can be fine. You know. So that to me is just amazing. After I think we all kind of got over the shock of it. I think the first few weeks or first month I think was the worst. I think that's was the worst part. The not knowing and the not getting started was the absolute worst, I think, month of our life.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think now it's like, okay, you know, I'm grateful that we, you know, have a plan in place, and, you know, and I think that's helped you too.
Yeah.
You know, because we're like planners. We like to plan. We don't like surprises. We like to know what's coming. So this was like, you know, I'm just amazed at how strong, and, you know, she's always been very outgoing with her disease, you know, with diabetes, you know, being out there, you know, not being embarrassed, not being, you know, ashamed, not being, you know. So I think she's just the same with this. You know, I just know we're going to get through it. The psychic lady promised us, so, you know, I'm just going to So.
Sister?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you can go through this experience as a outsider and not look at the person going through it differently. So yeah, I definitely look at her differently, obviously in a positive note, because I'm seeing that from her, you know. Obviously as an older sibling, you know, you're expected to be there for your younger siblings and, you know, be there to help guide them, and at least that's the role that I've always tried to take on anyway. And so this is like, believe it or not, the one time in my life where I feel like she's actually guiding me, not the other way around, even though I can try and do that. Obviously I'm not going through it, and so there's no way that I can give her any words of wisdom that, in the sense of I've never gone through this. So I feel that I'm looking at her differently, because I'm seeing her react differently and actually be more of a leader than I've ever seen her be in her life. And she's always has been the leader, not the follower, but I'm seeing it in a different way. And to me, I'm so impressed, and I'm so, you know, proud of her. And, we have an uncle who has cancer right now, and, somebody else that I've worked with who actually has breast cancer. And I've noticed that these people that I've, close people I've talked to, and even family members, like, I'm seeing that they are the ray of sunshine for everyone else who should be there supporting them, only they're doing a lot of the supporting, but in a good way, not in an unhealthy way. It's so uplifting and inspirational. So do I look at her different? Absolutely. She's more inspirational to me than I could have ever thought. I just look forward to seeing the new person that she's changing into, because I just see nothing but good coming from that.
My family's so sweet. Number 6, how do you feel you give her support?
Mine is just being there for everything, anything or everything that you need. You know, and I keep thinking too, I've got to get you through. Okay, basically, just I kind of now been taking it just like week by week. Got to get her through this week. You know, whatever she needs this week. You know, kind of just like maybe sometimes she's not having a good week, or I could tell maybe you're getting a little irritated, so you must be in pain. You must be achy. It's like, okay, you know, try and, you know, here, Kai, let's do this, or here, let's do this, or here, lay down, let's, you know, watch something together, or, you know, what do you need? You know, just kind of like that. That's why I like to be there for every appointment, and, you know, just kind of like, I just want to make sure, you know, if there's anything that you need, maybe something you didn't think about, I want to make sure that there's another person, you know, that's making sure that, you know, everything is being done that could possibly be done. I kind of feel like that's my role. Make sure that you get the best care. You know, I don't want to miss something. I don't want to be one of those, oh, we should have done this or could have done this. No, I want to make sure that everything's being done that could, you know, possibly be done.
I think that when we first heard that this was happening, it was assumed that my mom was going to take that role. And so from the very beginning, you know, my sister and I had a conversation. I was like, listen, you don't need, you know, however many people sitting here watching you, you know, like trying to be at your beck and call. I get that. You know, you're already going to have your mom. And I already knew that my place wasn't going to be that. And so I immediately, what called to me was that the best thing that I could do for her is be there to help with Kai, her son, in any way I could. So if I knew she's going to chemo, I'm picking him up. You know, my husband, one of us is picking him up. If he's not feeling good, he's coming to our house. We're taking care of him. Because that's just one less thing that she has to worry about. On top of, you know, I want him to have a good experience. You know, I don't want him to remember either her feeling a certain way, or even if he felt a certain way, that he didn't have the support he needed, you know, because obviously I can never be his mom. But, you know, we've had times where he's been sick and he's come over here, and I've really tried to, you know, just be as nurturing and spoil him as I possibly can, because I know that that's what she would do and that's what she would want. So I try to be there for her in that way. So it's just one less worry that she has to worry about. And then, of course, you know, I try to be the positive, you know, person. You know, especially in the family, that's kind of where I tried to fit in naturally, but especially in this case, you know, okay, if my mom's having certain issues, or even my dad or my brother, or what if they're all having issues with each other, who knows? But that's where I tried to jump in, is to be that positive person, and again, that voice of reason. So that's where I tried to help her out even more so with that.
It just makes me laugh because I'm a prime example of what she's talking about. So when the doctor said, girl, I'm like 98% sure you got breast cancer, right? So I was like, okay, instantly I got cancer, I'm crying, I'm calling my loved ones and telling them I got cancer. So I tell my sister, okay, I call my sister and I'm crying, I tell them, and then here's Miss Positive, okay, she's like, well, there's still 2%. And she's like, you never know. It could just be benign. It could just be like a fatty tumor. I'm like, he's sad. You know, I'm like telling her, she's like, no, there's still 2%. I'm like, girl, I got cancer.
I said, I don't believe it until the biopsy results come back.
And it came back and I was like,
I ain't going off of somebody's hunch.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
Which he was right. But it's still
that's not the point.
Of that, you have to go off of the biopsy.
But now thinking about it, that shit just makes me laugh because that just told my sister. Oh, this is my favorite question. So what is some advice you would like to give other families going through the same thing?
Make sure that you all band together. I think that's been our greatest strength, is to band together. And like Corey's, like Corey knew I would be the one, physically taking care of it, but I was counting on Corey to do like the research, the level head. Everyone needs to play a role, I feel like, And I thought like Corey's role, of course Corey does it well. It's like she did all the research and, things like that. And, makes you put the positive spin on everything. Like she said, everything fell into place, Mom. Who gets, your mammogram, and then who gets the biopsy the next week? Granted, they took 3 weeks for the report. That was hell.
But that's normal.
Yes, we found out that was normal on why they had to test certain things. But everything kind of just fell into place. So I think that's the thing. And then also as a family member, like as soon as she told me, like basically within hours, I was on the phone with Loma Linda. I was like, okay, what do I need to do? I knew I was either going to go to one or two places, either Loma Linda or City of Hope. But I figured Loma Linda, we knew was close by, it was more doable. So first thing I did was call. That woman was so kind, and she was like, she didn't even know me. And little did I know, during all that time, they kept calling too for the results. They had already taken control of things. They had already started asking for approvals from her insurance. They had already done all of that, and they never once met her. Never received a dime or anything from us, and they had already started all of that. I thought that was amazing. It was just kind of things, fell into places. And that's what Corey kept saying. Mom, everything is falling into place as it should. You hear about other people waiting months and months for things. And within months, you were already in treatment. So
it's important to stay on top of things.
Stay on top of things. Do not.
And if you have a hunch like this doesn't sit right with me, rather it be the plan or rather it be a doctor or whatever, it doesn't sit right with you, speak up.
Yes.
And don't lay down and roll over and be comfortable with that, because you don't have to. If you feel something needs to change, then change it. And just because you're the one that's sick doesn't mean that you can't be the one that decides how you get treated, decides your treatment.
And people will give you advice. Many people would give you advice. I think we learned to just say thank you. And then,
thank you, but no thank you.
We just moved on, and we're really happy with the care that she's getting. And I think that was, that would be my advice, to anybody. It's like, do your research, but don't wait. Take action. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a family, if we're talking about what our advice to other families, assuming that, and the sad part is that not everybody has that.
Right.
But if you do, like we kind of talked about, we basically got organized as we could. My mom is more or less, like she said, she's the warrior. So there's no doubt in my mind that, if something doesn't sound right, unless it's my sister, openly saying something, but then, my mom's always going to be the one to say, that ain't happening. We're going to do it this way, or should we do it this way, or X, Y, and Z. So I think that if you have it, it's important to have an advocate by your side. Whether it be the most boisterous person in your family, maybe the least shy person in your family, right? Who's going to do that for you, especially if you are one of those people. If you are a, shy or reserved person, you need somebody who is a little bit more take charge to kind of fill that role. And then it's to just be there on an emotional level, be there on a physical level, for that person going through it. And again, kind of we talked about, like, do your research, like know what the next steps are. As soon as we found out, it was like, okay, we went on, I personally went on all the different websites and I was like, okay, this is what they're going to test for. These are the different possibilities. So we already knew that was, going to happen. And before they even told us, as far as, are they going to, on the biopsy, they're going to check it for, is it estrogen, progesterone, HER1, HER2, we already know that they were going to do that. And so that was part of the whole research part of it. But everybody needs to find a spot in how they're going to help, and they need to follow through.
Yeah.
Need to follow through. Everyone's life is going to change. It doesn't matter. I don't care what anybody says. Your life is going to change if you're an active part of that person's life, and if you truly care. Your life is going to change, and there's nothing wrong with that, but everyone needs to be on the same page. And so we had like a family meeting essentially, and it was like, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do. She kind of said what she needed from each one of us on a physical and emotional level. And so it was plain as day. And so we've all just taken that part and kept going with it. So.
Let's see. What is the hardest part going through this personally, and what is the hardest part you think that for our family?
Just watching what you have to endure is extremely hard. Facing, it's the fears too, not putting my fears out there for you. I'm sure you have your own, so you don't need mine too. This is the hardest part, seeing your child. Who would have ever thought, I was going to hear about one of my daughters having breast cancer. That, and it was very shocking because, we tested negative for it. We did all that. We did the genetic testing, and it all came back negative. For me, for her. So, I don't know why you were the 1 in 8. She was the 5% chance. What the hell? Why? I don't know. Like Corey always says, there's a plan, for everything. So, I don't know. I guess.
To watching me go through it.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. I'm not going to lie. There have been many moments, crying by myself. Not going to lie. But it's, then it's like I think of myself, how could I do that when, she's the one, kind of going through it. But, for anyone, it's your child. You feel this sense of pain, and, you just can't believe you're having to watch your child go through this. But, that's when the thing is, that's when you either got to choose to just roll up, and just curl into a ball, or you have to, be the fighter. And we choose to fight. We choose to do whatever we have to do to get her through this. Whatever she, like Corey said, whatever she needs at home, whatever she needs with her son, I figure that's our role. Because none of us can go through this for her, but I feel like if we can just make everything else around her where she doesn't have to worry about those things too, I feel like that's,
your contribution.
That's my contribution, yeah.
I think, obviously along the same lines, the hardest thing is watching somebody that you love go through something like this. It's really easy to be on the outside of any family and look at it and be like, oh, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
But when you're actually in it, you're like, wow. Like, you can't just say that and then walk away. So that's hard. I actually also, the hardest part is obviously seeing what my sister's going through, but also seeing what my mom's going through too, because I know that it's hard. I know their bond and I know their relationship, so I see that it's hard on my mom in a lot of different ways. So that's actually hard on me too, because I feel like, you got to be there for both people. And so that is definitely a hard part about it. Also, the fact that they live together and they have that close proximity constantly, where I don't. I have lived, with my family, and so I'm unfortunately not always able to be there every single day. And every single hour and be there on all the bad times. So that's actually a hard part too, because you go through guilt. I do have guilt about not being, more a part of her day to day. And we've talked about it, a little bit here and there, that, we can't drop everything to, let's all move together so we can all be there. But, so I do feel that. So that's actually, something that's difficult to go through. But I try to, again, like I mentioned before, you try to think, I'll go through those emotions later. Because either way, I still have to get through the day to day. And I still have to be of the positive mindset for when and if there is a hiccup, so that is definitely a hard thing to go through.
And I think, too, Samantha wants Corey still to have her normal life.
Which I have told, me and
I think,
my sister have had this conversation, because she feels guilty. But I'm just like, girl, you have a husband, you have 2 kids, a home, a full-time job. I don't expect you to be like, oh, skirt, my life has to stop because my sister's sick. Like, I don't expect that from anyone. My mom, I don't expect that from anyone. So, it's, to me, the biggest thing she could do to help is what she's already doing. And that's, helping me with my son and helping me on my day-to-day if I need something. The fact that I don't ever have to worry, like, is Kai gonna be okay? What happens if he gets sick? Like, I can't be in the hospital. Like, is a huge, weight off of my shoulders. And it's easier for me to stay positive and to stay happy because I know I have that to fall back on. A lot of people don't have that. But I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of people that I know I can lean on. So that really helps me stay positive. A lot of people always ask me, like, how do you stay positive? And, these are 2 of the main reasons why. This is why this video is, like, so important. And to what my mom said, as far as, like, why, she felt like why her, I don't look at it that way. I never have. To me, it's like, why not me? Because if my mom or my sister got it, I would look at them, or my best friend or my boyfriend, if they got it, I would look at them and be like, oh my God, I wish I could just go through it so they didn't have to. So to me, I'm like, I'm going through it because I have the right attitude, and I have the personality, and I have the fight, and I have, like, less kids and less responsibilities, and like,
plus the rest of us would fall apart.
Yeah, like, I just feel like, it's me because I'm the only one that could handle it, basically. And it should be that way because I couldn't be what they're being. So I feel like all the roles are as they should be, as fucked up as that sounds, but I feel like, it'd be very emotional and hard for me to watch my sister and to watch my mom and to constantly do that and deal with my everything else day-to-day life. So I'd rather take it so that, my family doesn't have to. That's how I look at it. Are there any preventatives that your family, either one of your families, are taking to prevent this from happening? And are you scared that it could happen to any one of you?
I think for breast cancer, I think that's any woman. That's always been, you're taught from such a young age, that fear. I think that fear is in every woman, in the back of their mind, that this could happen. In terms of preventive, I've always gotten a yearly mammogram. I had a mother that was a nurse and a hypochondriac. So that is the only legacy she gave me, was basically to go for, your checkups. So I do that. I think in terms of preventive also, that is why after I had a cancer last year, but a year and a half ago, I had a really good doctor. I went to an oncologist, and, she encouraged me to do the genetic testing. And I did it, and then I was like, oh, okay. And when she told me about the lump, I was just like, no, she's it can't be, you know, it's just because, you know, genetically, you know, we tested negative, so, you know, we're good. And I have this guilt that I didn't make it go sooner. I do think about that, but then I have to keep thinking when the doctor said that, and he's probably looking right at me, he's like, you can't do would've, should've, could've. You can't go back.
Mm-hmm.
So I try and just, you know, nope, stop that, Karen. No.
And I did go.
Yeah.
When I first felt it 2 years ago,
Yep.
I made an appointment. I went and I was like, what the fuck is this thing? And
Yeah.
they were like, it's just a lump of fat because you chubby, basically.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So then once this girl started growing, I was like, this isn't normal. So as soon as I felt my body changing and I felt like something wasn't right, then I went. So I don't feel that. I don't feel like, oh my God, I should have went sooner. Oh my God, I should have went that. If I went sooner, then it wouldn't have been cancer. Like, no. I don't feel that. So I don't feel like you should have that guilt.
Well, that's just, you know, that's a mama's guilt.
That's her hypochondriac.
That's my hypochondriac, yes. But, you know, my advice to everybody is, you know, I don't know why people are afraid of a mammogram. It's like, what? It was like 30 seconds of nothing.
There's
Literally.
nothing fun about getting your titties squeezed
But it's
and your
like
boobs
nothing.
smashed. There's nothing fun about it. But
I
you
think
were
a pap smear is way worse.
right.
Oh, yeah.
I'd rather
Oh, yeah.
I'd rather whip out my tit
Oh,
any day
yeah.
than have to lay there up in stirrups. Like
Oh, yeah.
any day.
It's
Yeah.
nothing. There's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. And then, you know,
But you still shouldn't be afraid of a pap either.
no.
Yeah.
But
That's
you know
not what we're talking
We did end up, the difference was we did end up getting the 3D.
Yeah.
Instead of just the, what's the other one called?
Just a regular
Just a
ultrasound
regular-
Yeah,
mammogram.
Right, so we ended up getting the 3D one. And, you know, luckily, you know, we both came back negative. But like I said, if we get it, it's just because we're 1 in 8 women.
Mhm.
So genetically, we tested negative, all 3 of us. So it could happen just because we're just the 1 in 8.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, there's nothing we could do about that except, you know, take care of your health. You know, heavier women, you know, they said can get it, but, you know, thin, but then it's like, why do thin women get it?
Right.
There is no rhyme or reason. They have no idea why she got it.
And
It's
what's worse? Like just getting your boob smashed for 30 seconds or finding out that you have breast cancer. So
right.
let's put those two in perspective.
Yes.
And then the last question to everyone is, how have you changed so far? The journey is far from over, but how have you changed?
I'm trying, like in my mind, I'm still always like a warrior, but kind of like trying not to sweat like the small stuff. Sometimes like, oh, shoot, the house is a mess, and then I'm like, does it really matter? Not really.
Yeah.
Really doesn't matter. You know, I try to think of stupid things like the stupid job at work. I'm like, okay, does it really matter? No. You know, what matters is, you know, Sammy, you know, getting better. That's what really matters, Karen. You know, I have to talk, you know, like the voice in my head. You know, those
Put
kind of
things
things.
in perspective.
Put things in perspective. I think that is kind of, you know, what's really, for me, is, you know, changed. And, you know.
How have I changed? Other than what we've already talked about, how
Yeah.
we've changed. I think something that I've tried to change. I don't know that they would agree, but is my anxiety. Okay, because
Oh, Lord help us all.
You
Thanks,
know,
Lord.
I have tried to change that, and I am more conscious of how I freak out about little things, you know. Like, perfect example was, you know, last year I had a scare with my pap smear, and so I, you know, had everything biopsied, and it was great. Okay, but like I totally freaked out when it happened, and so 6 months later comes around, and this is, you know, before I found out about my sister, and the anxiety was real before the 6-month recap. And so that came back normal, thank gosh. Well, now it's a year that I had to do it again. Only this time, there was and I can say this with confidence, there was no anxiety. There really wasn't. I was like, let's get this done. like I don't even care, because all I could think of was we could deal with it. Whatever it is. If it came back, positive for, certain cells, like, that's all right. We'll deal with it because I know we can. And so that was huge for me on an individual level. That was really huge. Like, I wasn't sitting, I knew I was going to get the results actually on Christmas Day. I was going to be able to review them.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even stressing about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even think I told you
I didn't
guys.
even know
You did.
that.
I told
I thought about it.
But
God.
she was stressing out about it. But I wasn't, it wasn't like I normally would be about something like that. So to me, that was big. That was a big change for me.
And I think the big change too is like, and you mentioned it, it's like we could never say the C word out loud. It's like now we just say cancer all the time. It's like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah.
Because there's no like bad
you
juju.
can't get around it now.
There's no bad juju around it because it's already here.
It's here.
So
And again, that kind of goes back to the whole emotional thing. Never wanting to show. We never really, as a family, like to show our emotions, and so that's another big change. I think as a family, I mean, actually like shedding a tear. Like actually saying I love you. Like these are things that are huge. Like we knew that we loved each other, but we never really said it. Maybe once a year at Thanksgiving, when you're saying what you're thankful for. Like that was probably about it. And so I feel like now we're much more affectionate, I guess is the best way to say it. So that has
and
changed.
everyone in their own way. I feel my dad is more open with his feelings and how he feels and what he's thinking, what he's scared of. He's not emotional, but he's still open about that. Whereas before, it's like pulling teeth from the man. My brother is more open that way too, in the sense as like he's there for me like physically, and I know that if I'm like, hey brother, can you do this, like I don't have to worry about it, it's not going to be a fight. Like that is his contribution. And then obviously I have these two. My mom's way more emotional. That's where I get it from. My sister, she's very much like my dad. So she's very vocal. She's more vocal with her emotions and her feelings. Whereas before, like, we used to joke with her all the time and be like, this bitch is stone cold. Like, she has zero emotion, And my sweet brother-in-law is just like, the total opposite,
That's why I worry. She
yes.
both falling in
Yes.
love.
So he's so sweet and gets like so emotional, and it's cute to see now that my sister is like opened up a little bit, and it's not all just Shane. But that was all of our questions, and I hope you guys like these videos. There's a few in there if I didn't get to your questions. I just felt like they like grouped in with other questions. So but I hope you guys enjoyed having my mom and my sister. Thanks for being on a video. They weren't too keen on filming.
We're like, oh my God.
I know, but I'm like,
I'm
like, oh well, put yourself together from the top up because we're filming. So I promise it won't be a long time in between videos. And the next video, I'm thinking about having Daniel, my boyfriend, kind of do these. So think of questions that you guys want to leave down in the comments below, what you want to know from a significant other. But other than that, subscribe, like, and thanks for watching, guys.
Bye.
Bye.